Having access to the villager's pitchfork, or a modded 3DS to make Mila think beer is one, can allow for a lot of fun twists for a playthrough of Echoes. Interestingly, there are only a handful of units that can actually benefit from using the pitchfork to switch into the mage class line, these characters mainly being Celica's mercenaries and the villagers. This is because characters like Sabre and Kamui can become villagers after level 10 as dreadfighters, so they naturally can become mages anyway. For nearly every other character not naturally a mercenary or a villager though, they get generic mage spell lists in Fire, Thunder, and Recover upon promotion. That leaves merely a handful of potentially viable reclassed mages in the game. Now then, excluding villagers, since I made a video on them already, let's talk about the top reclassed mages in Fire Emblem Echoes. Number 5. Kamui. Kamui's most notable traits in the mage line is learning Excalibur at level 7 and Freeze at level 5, along with his 45% attack growth after modifiers. With this growth, his potential to be able to hit like a truck is going to rise, and with Excalibur, he'll be dealing pretty significant damage on ally phase if he lands a crit. But that's kind of it. Even with Excalibur, one of the best offensive skills in the game, his crit chance isn't going to be as high as other Excalibur mages would have it. He has 2 base luck, which is pretty bad, a 25% luck growth, and the only crit boost he gains is +3 with a passive Valbar support. So while Excalibur is indeed great, in the hands of Kamui, it's not terribly remarkable. Freeze is his Sage spell, but the range on the spell is pretty restrictive at attack divided by 4. So he'll need to get in close quarters to be able to freeze melee locked units like dreadfighters anyway. So personally, I think in terms of utility spells, Kamui has the least beneficial one on the list here. It's definitely usable, but I think the other Sage spells like Silence and Physic are just more useful. Number 4. Sabre. Sabre's spell list is Seraph at level 5 as a mage and Physic as level 5 as a sage. Like Kamui, the mage line will give him a 45% attack growth and a 35% defense growth after modifiers. His notable stats are his 10 base speed if he never procced speed as a villager on the way to becoming a mage. These stats essentially make him a faster and more powerful version of Bowie. Learning Seraphim as early as level 5 with his good speed will give him 6 attack speed, so he'll have an easy time doubling most terrors. He also learns Physic, which will make him a good backup for Jenny. In fact, as a sage, he pretty much ends up being a more offensive version of Jenny. He also doesn't benefit that much as a mage from his supports either. Jessie gives him +3 crit, +5 avoid, and +5 hit, but Seraphim is already highly accurate and doesn't have any crit bonus to begin with. So really, the only notable boost he's getting is that +5 avoid boost. Early on, he'll definitely wreck terrors left and right, and maybe being a more efficient terror killing machine than Celica. With his 10 base speed and 35% speed growth, his AS should be pretty decent throughout the game. He has higher base speed than Mei and Bowie, but Mei does have a 40% speed growth. Regardless, Sabre should do decent in the speed department. This one is a bit of a toss-up against the other candidates in this list, because it depends on how much the player puts stock into terror killing and Physic. It's definitely valuable, but personally, I think the next 3 are arguably better mages. Now, before I go on with number 3, as a disclaimer, this and the number 2 spot are so close together in potential that the 3 and 2 spot are arguably interchangeable depending on what the player values most. So just keep that in mind moving forward. Anyways, number 3 is Jessie. Jessie learns Excalibur at level 2 and Thunder at level 7, and Recover upon promotion, but it ends there. While Jessie has merely 2 spells, one of them includes Excalibur, and unlike Kamui's Excalibur, Jessie was born to use it. Learning Excalibur at level 2 is nuts, but what's even more insane is that Jessie has 9 base luck, a 55% luck growth, and can get a +10% support boost in the crit department with Sabre and Dean put together, meaning that Jessie will quickly have over 50% of a crit chance with Excalibur. What's more though is that he's 1 level short from becoming a Myrmidon, and if we're assuming that you're reclassing these characters the second you get them, you can use the gold apple on him, and then you can promote him into a Myrmidon and then to a villager. So by the time he becomes a mage, he'll at the very least have 14 base speed and 7 base defense. This means that Jessie is guaranteed to double every non-dreadfighter enemy right off the bat with Excalibur, even with Thunder. He's going to still put in work, being able to double with a 3-range spell. What's more is that as a sage, his hit rate with Thunder is going to shoot up to 95%. Basically, he has the potential to become a crit machine dealing stupid damage to anyone he comes across provided he crits. With either the Grimoire Ring or the Angel Ring, Jesse will have the potential to deal insane damage for days. On the flip side, he has no niche utility sage spells, but it really depends on how much stock you put into these specific spells though. That's basically his only downside. While he's a one-trick pony, a ridiculously powerful Excalibur spell is something that probably won't get old anytime soon. Number 2, Dean. Now, Dean being ahead of Jesse was a very close call, but Dean has some pretty awesome pros that are just too good to ignore. His spell list in the mage line is the following. He'll learn Sagittae at level 3 as a mage, and Silence at level 5 as a sage. Now I know what you may be thinking, but Gast, isn't Excalibur objectively better than Sagittae? Isn't that why you think Tobin makes for a better mage than Cliff? Well, on Alm's side, yeah, but Celica's side is a different story. The thing is, Excalibur is more important on Alm's side because Cliff and Tobin have pretty low attack speed given their bases, meaning that his attack speed with Sagittae is 6, which may sound pretty low, but combined with his solid 40% speed growth and 45% attack growth after modifiers, this gives him potential to increase his attack speed to great heights by the time he catches up with the rest of the party. I mean, look at this monster right here. The real fun begins when you realize how easy it is to KO enemies with Dean. At a high attack growth and a base of 13, he can easily double nearly every enemy with fire, and he can double snipers and canters with Sagittae itself. Yes, you heard that right, doubling enemies with Sagittae. While Jesse has an awesome crit rate, Dean doesn't need to bank on chance and can decimate pesky snipers and canters in a single round with sheer might alone. His support with Jesse also boosts his hit rate by 5, and when he gets to a Sage, Sagittae will have a fantastic 85% hit chance. And if you thought Sage Atlas was a nuke, he's nothing compared to what Dean can do. In addition to having stupid damage potential, he also has Silence, which is very useful in neutralizing canters. While Silence also has a range of attack divided by 4, Dean's range with it can still be pretty impressive since his attack growth can skyrocket. This gives him some fantastic offensive potential with some decent utility to boot. Dean's 9 base defense and 30% defense growth and 60% HP growth also makes him pretty stocky for a mage as well. Give him the Rion shield and his offensive defense will improve even more without hurting his AS that much. With the mage ring, he'll become a long range nuke, and with the Grimoire ring, he'll just be dealing colossal amounts of damage no matter what he does. A potential danger with Dean is that a double use of Sagittae will cost him 16 HP. At base, that's half of his health, but with his stocky stats and a healer to back him up, it's quickly fixable. Something else worth considering is that Dean will likely have a better enemy phase than Jesse will. Dean just has better offensive stats. Either character will be able to double with fire, but Dean has better base defense, a higher defense growth, better base attack, and a higher attack growth. In the end, it's a preference thing. Do you want an Excalibur bot or a nuke with some utility behind him? They're both insanely formidable attackers, one just has more utility, and I'd say ultimately has a better fun factor. And number 1. While I can sing the praises of Dean and Jesse, there's one unit that beats them both. Conrad. Conrad, upon becoming a mage, gets all of his spells immediately, in Fire, Thunder, and Sagittae. His notable bases are his 15 base attack, 16 base speed, 8 luck, 10 defense, and 12 resistance. His notable growths are 35% attack, 45 speed, 40 luck, and 40 defense. The edge that Conrad has over Jesse and Dean is that he needs absolutely no investment after promoting to a Sage, and his bases are already so high he can jump right into the action with no effort whatsoever. His stats make him well equipped to handle Sagittae and Excalibur as well. With Excalibur, his 8 base luck and a 40% luck growth means that his critical hit rate is going to steadily increase over time. And with 16 base speed, his AS with Sagittae is 5, but will also increase over time as his speed growth is very good at 45%. He'll also make for a bulky mage, as a 40% defense growth will be the highest among any mage in Celica's side. Conrad also has 12 base resistance, making him highly capable of enduring hits of any kind. His only downside as a mage compared to Dean is that Dean has a higher attack growth, but I would say it's a fair trade because Conrad has a better speed growth. This consequently has a chance of making Conrad's opportunity to double with Sagittae higher. While Jesse has a much higher crit chance than Conrad, Conrad has a better enemy phase, access to Sagittae, and has a notable luck stat of his own. And like I said before, zero investment is needed for Conrad. While he has no utility spells like Dean, Silence is still too niche that not having it isn't as bad of a disadvantage, given that Conrad just has so much more going on for him. Conrad is basically Jesse and Dean put together, minus the utility. But honestly, that's more than an ideal trade. And that will do it for this guide on the top reclassed mages in Fire Emblem Echoes. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up and please subscribe for more Shadows of Valentia videos and guides. Deuces.